What's up, guys? Welcome back to Rugged Adventures. I'm super happy to have you guys here today, just like every day, because you guys make the channel. So if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button because it means a ton to me. Today, I have the best value in pistols going right now. This is the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. This is the SW1 slide in the extreme carry cut configuration on a compact frame. We're going to put 15 through it, and then we'll talk about it as soon as I get my eyes and ears on. Just got this thing in from my FFL, $263 shipped to him. It's hard to beat that kind of a deal. Let's see how it performs. Pretty flawlessly running through that just standard, what kind of grain ammo in here? We're using 124 grain, just full metal jackets, nothing special whatsoever. And the thing I like about this gun is the price point. This is essentially I've heard it's like a Gen 3 Glock clone. I'm really not terribly up on my Glock generations, but this is basically a Glock. And if you go out and buy a Glock, like this is a Glock 23. When I purchased this, I got this on a Homeland Security thing because I'm eligible for that in, I don't know, like 2004 or 5. I think it was $399. It came with 3 magazines, but to get a new Glock now, you're probably going to be paying $500–600, maybe more than that. This, when I put this together with the slide and the frame, it was, like I said, $263. That includes all the taxes, that includes all of the shipping, and it's really tough to beat this combination. This particular one, like I said, has the SW1 cutouts. They have multiple different cutouts. I think they're up to SW5. I'm not sure what SW stands for, but it probably helps with barrel cooling and all that, but to be honest with you, I just like it because it looks pretty sweet. It comes with all the same things that you would, want in a pistol. It's got this little notch there where your hand can rest in. It has the trigger guard cutout. It has basically the same functionality of a Glock as far as the dual stage trigger here, which ends up being your safety. It disassembles like a Glock. Everything with it is basically very similar to a Glock. The cool thing about this is if you buy one of these, you can get this complete loaded slide with a threaded barrel, which we're going to get into here in just a second. That's why I brought this Hybrid 46 that you guys have seen a million times on this channel. That's the reason that I bought it, is because we can use it on nearly everything. Comes with these raised sights, which helps with a suppressor, even though with a big rifle suppressor like this or a multi-cal suppressor, it still obstructs the sight picture. Somewhat. Came with the doctor cut place for the optics mount. We're going to put an optic on this later if it survives all of the things that I want to do with this. Now, a lot of folks ask if you can put this on a Glock 19 frame, because this is basically a Glock 19 frame, and yeah, you can. The slides are interchangeable with a Glock 19 frame, but the funny thing is that a Glock 23 frame and a Glock 19 frame are very, very similar. The only difference in the two frames, I almost lost my my 23 slide there, is the extractor, or not the extractor, the ejector. If you look at these both, the 23, which is a 40 cal, has this straight ejector. This over here has the bent one that goes with the 9mm. But I was just playing around with this, and you can actually put the slide here for the dagger onto the Glock 23 frame, and it will fire. It will cycle. If I can get a mag loaded here real quick, I'll show you. Be right back. So we've got our Palmetto State Dagger frame or slide on my Glock 23 frame, and obviously, I don't know. There's no way I can show you guys that it's definitely a Glock 23 frame, but apparently they're identical to the Glock 19 frame. But we have the PMag GL9 mag, 9mm, goes right into the Glock 23 frame, loads. It works just fine. I'm not going to say that I recommend it, but it is something that you can do if you've been out there looking on the internet. Now, the funny thing about this is that you can't go the other way around. you cannot put the Glock 23, and I'll see if it'll focus on that so you guys believe me. I don't know if it's going to. You cannot put the Glock 23 frame or slide on the Dagger frame because of the way that that different ejector is. So that is a little bit on the interchangeability of these things. I've been firing this for a while, and there are very few cons to this firearm. This thing has just been slick as can be. The only thing that I have found is when you pull the trigger, the frame and the slide, they separate just slightly. And it probably isn't going to be a big deal for most things, but if you're into competition or something, that little bit of movement will make your shot line up different. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but right when you depress the trigger, it separates by maybe 0.5 millimeter. And it's very hard for me to probably show this on camera. And I did this with my Glock, and there is none of that. There's none of that movement with the Glock. So if you do this, if we were able to see that on camera, there is absolutely no movement between the frame and the slide. So that is a little bit of a difference here. But if you guys are looking for an absolute value of a gun, you know, you can get the high points cheaper than this. You can get a high point brand new for like $200, maybe a little bit less with shipping and tax and such. You're going to be paying probably around $200. So you can get something that is for sure cheaper than this. But what you are not going to get is the same value, because as far as I'm concerned, this is as close to this Glock as you can possibly get without going out and buying the Glock. I'm sure the Glock is just not thrilled about this at all. But give me a second. We're going to get this slid on there and just show you how much more fun you can have with this when you take a $263 pistol and add like a $1,200 suppressor to it. So now we've screwed this, you know, $1,000 suppressor on the end of this $263 gun. And when we were out here messing with it initially, it was having a lot of trouble cycling. This little 9mm here just doesn't have the punch of something like this that comes out of this 45. And so when this thing is trying to slide, because this needs to slide here to enable the slide to work for the next one to fire, it just didn't have enough to get over the hump with it in its kind of dirty condition from firing all the 45 ammo through it. So what we did is we just lubed this thing up a little bit, and the one thing you want to do is you want to have a pretty decent grip on this, because that 9mm just does not have as much energy for, you know, like limp wristed action where it's coming back like this. You want to keep it pretty solid so that all of that energy is able to run the slide and move this thing, which is not an easy thing to do. First off, we'll use these supersonics out of this thing because it's still pretty darn quiet, and we'll see how this does, and you guys can see how this does. I mean, still pretty quiet. And the nice thing is, with the way that the sight picture is with these raised sights on here, you can pretty much line up your sights here with the top of the can. I'll give you guys a look down it if I can, like that. It's not as bad as when we have these little you know, iron sights on the 45. You can get a much more accurate shot. It's still not the best, and once we put an optic on this, I think we're going to have a lot better time getting these shots on target nearly every time. So you get a miss every now and then, and you really have to line up your shots. Always remember to wear safety glasses, especially when you're using this, because you're going to have stuff blowing back through the action as it comes open, because this is going to provide more back pressure, which also helps in cycling the gun, but that is a different story. Next up, we have 147 grain subsonics. These aren't terribly much more than the supersonic 9mm, but they are much quieter. I'll just fire one into the woods without trying to hit anything. We'll see if it cycles. And it did cycle, but very, very quiet. Let's hit some targets with it. Again, try to keep the wrist as locked in as you can. And that one, see, we got a jam there. Might have got a little limp wristed on it. And it didn't eject that one. And so with this suppressor on here, it may not be the best possible thing, and it might be because this is a very large rifle suppressor that is just able to use on all sorts of pistols, or I may just be limp wristing it as we get farther into the video here. That time it didn't have enough to lock back the slide. So it's sort of a mixed bag so far with this suppressor on here, or it may be that the gun is just not broken in yet and, you know, hasn't had a chance to loosen up. We're going to do a lot more shooting with this, so I can guarantee you that, as time goes by. Suppressor's a little warm, but that is okay because I want to take it off and show you guys a couple of things that I did immediately with the gun when I got it. And I really only did one thing because if you know Glocks or anything like this, they're kind of squeaky. And this one was very much so, mainly because this comes with a steel spring on a steel guide rod here. And when I first got this, it was incredibly squeaky. And so all I did was just put, you know, some gun oil on that, some brake free, and it was good to go. And so I'm hoping that as time goes by, this thing loosens up and and it's much more reliable shooting with the suppressor. This thing is still very hot, so picking it up barehanded was not a great idea. But guys, this pistol, this PSA Dagger, and you can get this in all sorts of configurations, all sorts of slides. The frames you can get either compact or full size. You can also use your Glock 19 frame. Apparently you can use a Glock 23 frame. For the money, in my opinion, this is one of the best values in guns altogether, and probably the best value in pistols, hands down. I mean, if you're looking at a high point, if you just need to sling bullets for some reason, it will be the cheapest, but I don't think that there is going to be a value that is better than this, especially with the already installed accessories, the threaded barrel, the optics mount, the mount here for a flashlight or a laser, and it just feels good in your hand. This has a heft to it. This has a weight that is very similar to the real deal Glock. So guys, if you like this, be sure to subscribe down below. It really helps this channel out, helps us grow, helps us get more things like this and afford more stuff like this, because none of this is cheap. Like this video. It also helps it out in the YouTube algorithm, shows it to more folks. I appreciate you guys watching today, and I'll see you in the next one.